I cannot believe this, guys. Imagine I actually filmed this video before and then I was watching it back and I was ready to edit, ready to go, and basically my voice was just like this. And I was just like, what the hell? My audio had not connected at all. So now let me check that my audio is connecting in this recording. Testing, 1 2, 1 2 3. Okay, so I've checked the audio now, it's all working, so let's get on with this video. By way of introduction, my name is Simranjeet Kaur Mann. I'm a trainee solicitor for a UK top 20 firm, and I make videos about law, careers, personal development, current affairs, as well as vlogging my journey to becoming a solicitor and beyond. Now today's video is one that I had a few doubts before posting, I'm not going to lie to you, because I didn't want this video to be like, you need to do everything in this video and you will get a training contract offer. I don't want to sell false hopes. So that's one thing I want to kind of get off my chest straight away. Just because I've mentioned these things in this video doesn't mean that necessarily everything I've mentioned in this video is going to help you. Some things may help you, some things may not. Or there may be things that I've not mentioned in this video but have actually helped you personally. So say if you are a future trainee solicitor or a solicitor watching and I've not mentioned anything in this video that personally helped you, feel free to drop that in the comments below. I would love to hear all your opinions. So even though I had these doubts, I think the main reason why I wanted to make a video about this topic today, about everything I did to get my 3 training contract offers, is because this is a question I am asked very, very often. It's probably the question people ask me the most. So I just thought I would just explain it all essentially and just kind of talk to you and have a real honest chat about everything that I did to get my training contract offers. Let's get to it. The first thing was actually understanding why I wanted a training contract, if I'm honest with you. A lot of people, in my opinion, make training contract applications or VAC scheme applications because they've studied law or someone's told them, commercial law, being a lawyer is like a good thing, or, it's a good career choice. So then they apply. And for me, I am a massive, massive believer that you should try and explore options, whether that be commercial law, whether that be working in a high street firm, whether that be in a completely different career altogether, but really trying not to kind of siphon your options. If you are 100% interested in commercial law, that's completely fine, but really try and hone into the reasons as to what it is about this career that entices you, what excites you about this career. Because a lot of the time, sometimes I do get questions from individuals where they're asking me, like, how do I answer why I want to be a lawyer? Or how do I answer why I want to be in commercial law? And for me personally, that's a little bit problematic because I don't want to tell you those reasons. Your reasons for your career choice is your personal, you've got your own personal reasons for why you're picking that career choice. I don't want to be the one to tell you that, because my reasons for why I've chosen commercial law are definitely going to be different to other people. So I think that's the main thing as well, first and foremost, that I really tried to figure out in my mind. And I'd tried out other career options. I was an accountant for a short stint at a Big 4 firm, and I'm actually really glad that I had that stint as well, even though it was a job that I really didn't enjoy because I didn't enjoy accounting. Nothing about the Big 4. The Big 4 are great in my opinion, but I am just 100% so happy that any opportunity that came my way, I took it, even if it was law, even if it was non-law. So I think that's the main thing that I really kind of figured out. And then even before jumping into doing the LPC straight away, of course, everyone's got their reasons for why they wanted to do the LPC straight after university. I was one of those people who decided to wait because I actually wanted to build legal experience before I jumped into a massive commitment of paying £16,000 for my LPC. Of course, it's just really, really unaffordable. So I'm really glad that I took that time for myself and understanding that when you graduate university, it's not so much the case of you have to have a career sorted and you have to have your life in set steps. So I'm going to get a job by 22 and I'm going to get married by 25, and it's just a bit like life doesn't work like that. And sometimes it's okay to take a step back and give yourself that time to just really think, okay, am I just in this career, or am I just pursuing this career line because everyone else is, or do I genuinely have an interest in what's going on? And for me personally, because I paralegaled for a little bit, for like about a year, that really solidified my decision, and that passion that I grew for commercial law through my paralegaling really translated in my applications, and it really just made me feel like this is the career for me. And it also helped me with handling the rejections as well, because when I would get rejected, I would just tell myself, you know what? I want this career so much that I'm going to keep trying. And that was what that passion that just continued and like kind of helped me get through the whole process. The next thing I did was make strategic applications to firms that I was genuinely interested in and had an engagement with. Now, you may have seen one of my LinkedIn posts, I'll show it here. And essentially it shows all the applications that I did for one cycle. I think it was around 40 applications, I don't know, but yeah, that was all the applications that I did. And when you look at that at first sight, you're thinking, Sim, that's not strategy at all. Like, how is that a strategic kind of application process? And let me decipher this for you. So on the first page of that table that I'm showing somewhere here or here, above the red line were all the applications that I did in a really rushed state. I didn't really put any emphasis into why I was engaged in the firm or why I was interested in the firm. I was literally just applying because I was applying last minute and they were the only firms that had a deadline open. And as you can see, I wasn't that successful. Now from the red line onwards onto the second page, those were the firms that I had a genuine interest in. They were firms that I really extensively researched. Most of those firms have a common theme running through them, mainly the fact that they had small trainee intakes, they had a kind of national and international presence, and they had focuses on things like diversity and inclusion initiatives and also legal technology, for example, all those specific areas that really made me interested in commercial law altogether. So when I say make strategic applications, when you are researching the firm, and I've got a video about how I research firms which you can access via the link above, but when you are researching firms, I think it's really important to ask yourself that question of, do I actually imagine myself working here? There were times, I clearly remember this, when I was in the process, I was researching a certain firm and I was like, you know what, no, I don't want to work here. Sometimes you just have to really listen to what your body is telling you. And I've had certain firms where I was just like, you know what, I actually don't think I'd fit in well here, so I didn't apply. Now I've touched upon research a little bit here, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit further as another reason for why I got my 3 training contract offers. When I was at university, I made a big mistake in terms of not really taking advantage of networking events, of open days, of insight days. I remember in first year, I was invited to an open day at Simmons & Simmons, and I wasn't sure what an open day was. I just thought they were just going to show us around the firm and, you know, that's it. You wouldn't really gain much more of an insight. And I just basically just didn't go to the open day, even though I had a place. And I look back and I'm kicking myself and I'm thinking, why didn't I go to that? You know, it would have been such a great experience and I would have learned so much. So really take advantage, if you're a university student, take advantage of those opportunities. However, if you're like me and you've graduated or you're nearing the end of your final year, or because of the pandemic, you just haven't had a chance to, don't fret. In my opinion, you can still put yourself out there. You can still reach out to individuals on LinkedIn. What I did was research extensively. Researching the firm was the main, I think, way in which I was able to bring my applications to that next stage. And of course, I'm not going to talk about researching in more depth here because, like I've said, via the link above, I've got a whole research template that you can use that I used when I was researching firms. Now, the next thing that really helped me in gaining my 3 training contract offers was understanding that there are no shortcuts to this process. Just because, for example, you may have someone who reviews your applications or someone who, you know, someone in the legal field, for example, who may be able to help you out, that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that you should be getting complacent. At the end of the day, when it comes to things like application writing, when it comes to interviews, it's your performance. It's you at the end of the day that they are looking for. And I've reviewed applications in the past, and sometimes I've reviewed applications multiple times for an individual. And when you see the same mistakes cropping up from before, I think it just goes to show that you can't rely on other individuals to do the work for you. At the end of the day, if you want to get through in this process, you need to take accountability for that constant self-improvement, whether it be in your applications or what to glaze a test and stuff like that. I was someone who really didn't face any major challenges in my education. I'm very lucky to say that, but throughout GCSE, throughout A-levels, throughout university, I pretty much just I wouldn't say I sailed through, I wouldn't say it was an absolute breeze, but I didn't feel that particular challenge. But the training contract process was the one thing where I was genuinely up against an obstacle where I didn't even know whether I would get through or not. It was a very kind of uncertain time for me. And that's why I took that opportunity to just say, you know what, this is the first time I'm faced with a challenge. I'm going to take it head on and I'm not going to take shortcuts. I tried to investigate every single element of how I could improve, whether that be in my application writing, whether that be in my interviews. I soaked up feedback. Wherever I could get feedback, I took it on, and I really tried to apply it to future applications that I made. I didn't make excuses for why I was rejected. I just accepted that, okay, there is some element for me to improve on here, and I tried to improve that. Now this links on to my next thing about self-reviewing. So a lot of people, when they get their rejections, it's really easy. I used to do this as well. You get your rejection email and you never look at that application again for that firm. One thing that I started doing when I was in the process was I would get my application out, the ones that were rejected, and I would self-review it myself. You could also, for example, give copies of your application to friends or family. They don't have to be law, they don't have to be in the legal field. And what you can do is just ask them, does this answer relate to the question that's being asked of me? And if not, why not? Is my spelling correct? Is my grammar correct? Is my punctuation correct? When you ask those questions to a person who doesn't do law, they may be like, Sim, what the hell do you mean here? Like, this doesn't make sense. And they're able to pick out things that you may not have realized before. Just taking the opportunity to try and get as much feedback, because I understand, of course, in the initial application stages, you don't get feedback usually because the firms get so many applications from loads of different people. Now, the next form of self-reviewing that I used to do was actually just be really real with myself when I was reading the application. So if I was reading an application, I was reading a certain sentence and I was thinking, okay, and how is that even relatable to the question? How is it, what point am I trying to make here, essentially? If I had those questions in my mind, then I knew that I'd not gone into enough detail. And those were the things that I tried to pick up on. Really try and think about whether there were any elements where you felt like you'd gone off on a tangent or whether the structure wasn't clear. That's what I'd say in terms of self-reviewing, is just making sure that you understand where you may be going wrong, if that makes sense. I also used to watch YouTube videos religiously when I was in the process, and I think somewhat inspired me to make my own channel as well now. And what I would say is just literally just search in YouTube or Google how to write good training contract applications, for example. And you will get so many options that come up. Some are from channels from law firms themselves, some are from other YouTubers out there in the legal sphere right now. And what I did was I wrote down all of their advice and insights and tips onto a piece of paper, and then when I was doing my application for that next firm that I wanted to apply to, I had that piece of paper in front of me and I referred to it when I was making my application. So I really tried to make sure that if I was gaining insight, if I was gaining tips and advice, I was actually trying to apply it to my future applications rather than just hearing advice and then just it going over the top of my head. Now, the next thing I did that really helped me in getting my multiple training contract offers was applying early. Now, I've talked about this quite a lot in some of my previous videos, so do check that out. However, I'll talk about it briefly here. In terms of a statistical perspective, when you apply early, in my opinion, this isn't proven, this isn't something like a proven method, but I just found it a matter of coincidence that when I applied early, my applications were more likely to go through to that next stage. And by early, I mean around 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month in advance. And the reason why I feel like that made my application successful was because there's been less people that have applied in front of me because I've applied early. In my opinion, I feel like grad recruitment don't know how many people have applied. They don't know how competitive the applications are going to be yet. They have their predictions, of course, I'm sure, but they're not 100% sure. Your application may be really great, but because more people have applied in front of you, say if you applied on the day of the deadline, then they may be more likely to reject you because they're thinking, oh my God, we've had so many applicants this year, we can't take on any more. And I did this technique of applying early, regardless of whether it was a rolling basis or whether it was a fixed deadline. I just did it for every single application. And yeah, really do try that out and see whether it works for you as well. The next thing that really helped me getting my training contract offers was not only preventing myself from only doing vacation scheme applications, I did direct training contract applications as well. It's important to know at this stage I had graduated, so I was able to make direct training contract applications. I know some firms have restrictions. For example, penultimate year law students can't do a direct training contract application. So do bear that in mind. Not everyone can do direct training contract applications. And I do get this question quite a lot, actually. I get people asking me, I don't have a lot of legal experience, can I do a direct training contract application? And in my opinion, 100% just go for it, because a lot of the time law firms aren't asking for legal work experience, they're asking for transferable skills. And don't feel like you are not qualified enough to make a direct training contract application. In my opinion, I just went for it, and one of my training contract offers was from a direct training contract application. Now, this firm that offered me the direct training contract offer was only taking on 2 spaces, and that's enough to put someone off. I remember looking at that on their website, like, we only take on 2 trainees a year. How in hell are they gonna ever take someone like me on? And I basically just started ignoring the numbers and just applied anyway. And I think it's really important to note that as well. I get a lot of people asking me, should I apply to this firm? It's really competitive. I don't know whether I should. And in all honesty, every firm is going to be competitive. Every single firm you're going to apply for is going to have the numbers stacked up. And I think it's really important, in my opinion, what I did was I just ignored that. I ignored the numbers. If they're taking on 2 trainees, why can't I be that 1 trainee, you know? And I think it's about having that self-confidence in yourself and just pushing past that element of self-doubt. Now, this next thing that I did that helped me get my multiple training contract offers was more of a mindset thing, but it's also a quite controversial point, and I'll talk about why. So my mindset and my motto for that year, from between July 2019 to July 2020, I think I got my offers in 2020. Did I? No, that was last year. No. July 2018 to July 2019. That year of when I got my offers, my whole motto for that year was essentially don't stop until you get a training contract offer. Now, that's a little bit, you know, it could be taken as it would, but for me, it really motivated me. And do take this as a pinch of salt if I'm honest with you, because some people do say make limited training contract applications, so make 6 to 8 applications. However, I felt like when I was doing my PwC vacation scheme and I was rejected from that vacation scheme back in July 2018, I felt like I'd put all my eggs in one basket and relied on that firm to provide me a training contract offer. So I didn't apply to any other firms while I was on my vacation scheme. And then when I was rejected, I was scrambling for that 31st of July deadline because I honestly genuinely put all my eggs in one basket. And I guess that scarred me a little bit, if I'm honest with you. I just really didn't want to be in that position again where I was back at square one. I didn't have any backups or any other choices. So what I did was I didn't really have a set number of how many firms I wanted to apply to. I basically just said, you know what, I'm going to make sure that every application I do is to a good quality, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And I just made sure that I wasn't compromising on my time when I was applying to firms either. Now, I think also a lot of people say you shouldn't be churning out applications. And I do believe that, because you don't want to compromise on the quality. The quality of your applications is absolutely key, and you don't want to compromise on that just because you're trying to rush to get 3 applications done in a day. That's like insane. But I think it's also important to recognize that there is quality in quantity, if that makes sense. So let me explain that. When, for example, I am creating my YouTube content, if you compare my first video to this video now, of course I've still got a long way to go in terms of improvement, but I'm sure you'll be able to realize the changes in quality of like video quality, of sound quality, of editing. And that's because I've been churning out videos. I've been putting out content constantly, maybe even 4 times a week at one point as well. And I've only gotten to improve because I've kept on creating and I've still got a long way to go. And I kind of applied that same technique also with my applications. So my first few applications weren't that great, but as I kept doing them more and more, I started actually building on my quality and understanding what firms were looking for. So I get that question quite often, how many firms should I apply for? And I think obviously it's important to think about the quality aspect, but don't feel like, oh my God, I'm applying to too many firms and I just can't get this done. When I think it's actually really important that you may be that person like me. I learn by doing things over and over. Some people get it straight away, and that's completely fine. Everyone learns things differently, but that's how I learn. I learn by doing things constantly. Now, I caveat that last point by saying, but you shouldn't just be applying here, there, and everywhere. Like I said, you should still be strategic in the applications you make. You should still make sure that you're applying to firms that you genuinely see yourself working in. And yeah, just don't compromise on that element, and don't feel like you just have to apply everywhere because you are desperate for a training contract. Trust me, I think it's more important to be at a firm where you genuinely resonate with the ideals and the values than be at a training contract at a firm that you just really don't admire or align with in any way. Now, this last point that I want to make was again another mindset point, and it's something that I developed throughout that year of the training contract process, and it's something that I still apply to my life now, and it's understanding that you yourself are the biggest selling selling point. You shouldn't act like someone else. You shouldn't act like this corporate individual. Just be yourself in the process. Now, when you are asked questions, for example, in the application, what makes you stand out as a candidate, or why should we pick you, or what makes you a suitable candidate, those kind of questions, I think it's really important to recognize what personal qualities you have that make you you. And those qualities may not be unique. You know, for example, my personal qualities that I feel like make me stand out is my drive, is my work ethic, is my ambition. Those aren't unique traits. A lot of other people also have those traits as well. But how I answer those questions and how I understand myself to have those selling points is through my experiences. So I've been through unique experiences that have allowed me to showcase my drive, my ambition, my work ethic. And those experiences are unique to me. No one else has those same experiences as I do. So really tap into what makes you you. Even do a mind map of it if you have to. Put you in the middle and then just draw out little branches of all the responsibilities, all the experiences, or the life opportunities that you've had, or key moments in your life that just really make you proud of who you are. And when you really realize what that is, when you apply to firms, things like that self-doubt, it does happen, but you manage to overcome it. You learn how to deal with it, because when you are dealing with self-doubt and not applying to certain firms, sometimes for me that comes from a confidence issue and you feeling like you're not good enough or you're not worthy enough of applying for a certain firm. So I think understanding that you have that potential, and sometimes the only person that's stopping you is yourself, is really important to recognize. So that's the end of today's video. Hopefully I've provided practical tips of how I actually got my 3 training contract offers. It's not something that happened overnight. Hopefully you've gained a really kind of honest insight into how it was like for me. It was at moments a really low point in my life, because I just felt like I had to dedicate so much of my time to just doing this. And essentially what pushed me through was my confidence. It was the ability that, you know, this is the career that I genuinely want. And yeah, I don't know how else to end this video. Yeah, this is really awkward now. Let me just go and say bye then, innit? I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next one. Please let me know if you found it useful, and if you have, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.